Before you say anything, I look like this because I was just cosplaying Rem, because I have a cosplay competition coming up. Ignore this if you can. I have been inactive for many months, and honestly I'm sorry about that. I got caught up with life and I procrastinate a lot. I actually have a lot of things I want to talk about, just never got around to recording until now. And like, maybe it's because I am dropping out, but that's besides the point. Okay, let's talk about, should you explain why they are wrong? Now, what do I mean by that? What does that mean? Let's say you're having a disagreement with someone. Obviously, both of you guys are trying to get your point across. I am pro-vaccine, and I'm arguing with an anti-vaxxer, and they have their points, they have their arguments, and I have mine. When you're met with someone that's so adamant, someone who's just stuck with their tunnel vision, does it matter if you were to explain to them why they're wrong, or even attempt to explain why their thinking and reasoning is flawed? I see this a lot in life. I see this a lot in arguments where people just give up on trying to explain themselves because they pass it off as like, oh, this person is so stubborn and they refuse to see it any other way. I shouldn't waste my time. And that's valid. That's totally valid. What I'm trying to say is, should you still try? For example, let's just say person A has hurt you a lot. You confront them about it and they seem, confused. They seem like they don't know what they've done wrong. Maybe to you it's very clear cut. It's like, even if you don't understand why it's hurtful, I'm telling you that it hurt me, and that should be enough of a, explanation. But person A still doesn't get it because they don't understand or see things the way that you do. Is it a waste of time and energy to attempt to explain to them why there's a disparity in logic? People tend to use the term common sense, but we all know that common sense isn't common sense. A lot of people have a lot of different beliefs, even though there's many communities and groups that share the same way of thinking. Like, for example, in religion, people can still see things very drastically different. I mean, have you seen those like Julie B? Is that what it's called? Julie B, like, debates? You see those videos, right, where people are debating with firm believers of their own ideologies. Is it a waste of time for the people to sit down and to take the time and explain their points, to explain why they think differently? Because there's a lot of people that disregard the need to justify your beliefs, that the passion will override the necessity of explaining yourself. If it's difficult to convince or to explain to someone who's very stubborn in their way of thinking, it's very easy to just drop it and be like, you know what, you don't want to listen, you don't want to hear it, I won't waste my time trying to explain it to you. Which is, like I said, valid. My question is, should we? As in, is there importance in quote-unquote wasting your time in trying to explain your differing opinions and reasonings and beliefs to someone on the other end of the stick? Personally, I think that it's worth a shot to explain to everyone why I think the way I do. It not only helps people understand me, it also helps people understand the world better, and I think that's really important. No, not only does it serve me good, it serves the other party good as well. Even if they don't want to hear it, even if they refuse to believe, or they still disagree with me, I think it's important that I at least explain myself. So if they ever want to reflect, they have the resources. They can look back and be like, why is it that this person thinks so differently from me? It helps both parties gain a new perspective on things. This is also coming from someone who's autistic. Sometimes I just don't understand common sense. Sometimes I don't understand how socializing works. I don't know, like, many social rules that are just common sense to the average human. If it weren't for my own observations or, things that I picked up over the years, I would still be met with reoccurring issues when it comes to socializing and trying to integrate in this society, because it's not very common for someone to be met with curiosity instead of hostility when they confuse the world. Because I'm autistic, I am very open and, I guess, vulnerable in that sense, because I don't see a point in hiding parts of myself, and I don't really have boundaries when it comes to talking about gross things or whatever. So sometimes I forget that that's not the case for a lot of other people, and it's not necessarily my fault that I make people confused or uncomfortable with how open I am, because I don't do it out of malice. I do it because I don't realize that it's wrong, or that I don't realize that I should be taking certain precautions, certain measures to make sure that I'm accommodating enough. Accommodation is not natural. Accommodation is a choice. And when people try and make accommodation into something that's supposed to, be intrinsic, it brings so much unnecessary shame. When someone disagrees with you, sometimes they're not being ignorant, sometimes they just don't see it the way that you do, and that's okay. It's okay if someone doesn't see it the same way as you do. Just because it goes against your beliefs doesn't mean that they deliberately choose to believe in something that you don't believe in, that you don't agree with. Sometimes all they need is for someone to take the time, the patience to spell it out for them. And I think if we were all just a bit more understanding and were willing to take out time to just at least try, at least attempt to explain to someone why you are the way you are, it's gonna help the world be so much better. I've met so many people who, have had falling outs with people, and they just never knew, they never understood why. To them it's very spontaneous, to them it's very unreasonable, but when they share the story with me, I'm able to give them a new perspective. And I feel bad, because if that other party was just a bit more patient, a bit more willing to just explain to them common sense, the misunderstanding could have been easily cleared up. Just because it's common sense to you doesn't mean it's common sense to everyone else, and that's something we all know, and yet we don't act accordingly. It's as if we see differing opinions like a deliberate choice to be bigoted or ignorant, stupid. Sometimes people just don't think the way that you do, and that doesn't mean they're stupid. It doesn't mean they don't think. I think it's worth explaining to someone why they are wrong or why you think you're correct. It will help people understand the world so much easier, and people will be able to be so much nicer. I hope that made sense, and I'm whispering because it's 1 a.m. It's okay if you disagree. Sometimes people won't understand, but that doesn't mean no one will understand. Yeah.